Frig me, it's bloody hot. If I look like a big red sweaty monster, I am. It's really hot here today, especially in the shed. Anyway, the reason I'm here before you today is because I've not put a video up for ages. Mainly because the last beer that I brewed is, well actually that's a lie. The last beer that I brewed that I filmed was a lager. And of course I decided to do a lager in the traditional style of letting it lager for 30 days. So it's taken ages before it's got to a point where it's ready to drink. And I wanted to do a grain to glass, so it was inevitably going to be a long period between brewing and drinking. So we're at that day. We can drink some lager. Oh yes. Really looking forward to this. So, well, I'm looking forward to doing the taste for you guys. I've actually obviously drunk it, so I know what it tastes like. But listen, it's a lager. I've never done a lager before. I've got all the equipment to do it. I've got a fermentation fridge where I can control the temperature. I can drop the temperature down to 13, 14 degrees as needed. Sorry, I'm sweating so much. It's so hot. I've got all the windows in the shed open as well. It's still bloody roasting. Anyway, I've got a fridge where I can actually take the fermentation vessel and stick it in a fridge and leave it to lager for a month and then carry on and do another load of brews. I have done other brews between doing the lager and now, but they were copies of beers that I've done previously. So I did a New England IPA, which I've already done before, so I didn't feel that it was worthwhile filming something I've already done before, so I just kind of left it. So my neighbour's outside in their garden watering, so I keep looking over. Yeah, this is the last one that I've videoed for you guys. So I'm going to take you over to the brew day video now. It's a really interesting brew because I ended up doing a stepped mash, which I've never done before. Yeah, I'll let you go through the video, and once we're ready at the end of it, we'll skip over to me drinking it. And I'll tell you what, in this weather, I'm really looking forward to a pint of lager. Okay, so here we are, the night before brew day, ready to go. Everything's set up and ready to go. I have my strike water in the HLT. I have my grain all weighed out and ready to go in a bucket. I've got my sparge water in a cube ready to go. I've made my water adjustments to my sparging water and my strike water. Now because this is a lager, I've had to really think about my water profile for this, because I know that water profile is very, very important for a lager, and considering I live in London, I've got very hard water, so I really need to try and soften it a little bit. So what I've done is I've bought 25 litres of demineralised water to dilute my water profile. So here's my water profile. This is a print off from Brewing water. So my water profile is at the top. As you can see, I've got high calcium and high bicarbonate. And I've managed to get our mashing water profile down to a much more manageable level. You can see that my bicarbonate, I've ended up going into the minuses. That's because I've needed to try and add enough lactic acid to get my pH to the level that I want it to be. So as you can see there, I've got my pH down to 5.2. So what I ended up having to do was add 7 millilitres to my strike water, 6.4 to my sparge water. So that's my water profile sorted. It's actually very simple. I've not had to add any calcium or calcium chloride or Epsom salts or anything like that, so I've managed to keep the water profile very simple. The other thing is that because this is a lager, here's the recipe printed out from Beersmith. This time, rather than printing out just the recipe, I've printed out the steps, because the steps are a little bit more complicated than what I'm used to. So obviously for an ale, you do a simple mash, you dough in, you leave it for an hour, you run off, pretty simple. You can complicate it with recirculating and stuff like that, but generally it's a pretty simple process. Here we have a 3-step mash. I think this is called, which is specifically for lager. So you can see here I've got 10.02 litres of water at 21 degrees, so at room temperature, being doughed in for dough in and then leaving for 15 minutes. I then add just under 7 litres of water at 74.2 degrees to bring the temperature up to 40. I've then got 3 other steps: protein rest and the dextrinization rest, which says to decoct the mash and boil it. I'm not really up for that. I don't like the idea of running something off and then boiling it somewhere else. So what I'm probably going to do is do what I usually do with an ale. I'll recirculate and bring the temperature up to the temperatures that it specifies in the step temperature. So I'll let it do the rest for 20 minutes, then bring the temperature up. Let it do the protein rest for 10 minutes, then bring the temperature up. Let it do the dextrinization rest for 20 minutes, and then starts looking at mashing out. So it looks like the mash is probably going to take longer than my normal, hour-long, hour and 15 mash, with the steps, getting to the points of the steps and letting it have those particular amounts of times to do the acid, protein and dextrinization rests. But yeah, so it should be a lot more, a lot more involved by the looks of it. So also with this particular brew, I've got a brew, it actually says boil for 16 minutes. So this is a 90-minute boil, so there's something wrong with that. No, sorry, that's when to add the Chinook. Add the Chinook at 60 minutes. So I might add that at the beginning of the boil, so it boils for 90. I don't know, I'll decide tomorrow. But anyway, it's a 90-minute boil. Looking to have an estimated post-boil of 23.3 litres, and then I'm expecting to get into the fermenter about 22.43. So I've really messed about and really tried to get my equipment profile on really sorted out for this particular brew, so I can be a bit more predictable with what I'm actually going to get out of my brew. So I've allowed for trub loss, shrinkage, all that kind of stuff. So as you can see right at the bottom, I'm using a Czech lager yeast. Never used this before, WLP 802. It's currently co-crashing in the fridge. I've had it in a starter for the last 4 days now. Obviously, being a lager yeast, it's a little bit slower to start. So it's really started looking like a good starter probably on the 2nd day. But it's looking really good now. So I've got a good amount of yeast, I think, to go into the fermentation bucket. Anyway, I'm going to tuck all of this up for bed now. And we will see this tomorrow morning at 6 AM when we are ready to go. Oh yeah. 6:15 in the morning and we're prepped and ready to go. protein rest. I've just started recirculating through the Herms coil, brought the temperature up to 50 degrees, and now we're going to leave it to sit here for 10 minutes. Taking a pH reading. So this is, we're only currently on the just coming up to the beginning of the dextrinization rest. Currently we've got a mash pH of 5.4, which is higher than we calculated in brewing water. It should be about 5.2. So I've just added about 2 millilitres of lactic acid. I'm going to wait for that to start pumping through the system, recirculating through, and I'll take another mash reading at the end of the dextrinization rest. Okay, been recirculating for the last 10 minutes to bring the mash up to target temperature was 67.2. I went off and started talking to the missus, come back, it's gone up to 68.1, so it's slightly over, not a big problem. So we're going to leave this to sit now. I've turned off the pumps, we're not recirculating, and it's not going to increase the temperature. So we're going to leave this to sit now for 20 minutes for the dextrinization rest. Then I'm going to turn all the pump back on, and we're going to bring it up to our mash out temperature at 76.7, and then after that we'll start running off and asparaging. End of the dextrinization rest, so I've changed the temperature to go up to 76.7, see it starts to climb up. We're recirculating for that period of time. I've just got a pH reading, and we're kind of at about 5.32, 5.33, so the pH has gone down obviously. I think we're at a good level, 5.2 is what I was aiming for, so we're slightly higher than we want to be, but only slightly. 5.2 to 5.4 is the range that we're looking for, so we're bang in the middle of that, so that'll do, we're happy with that. Okay, so we're all set up to start sparging. I've just started the runoff, trickling at a nice slow pace, and you can see here, look how clear this water is looking. Wort. Look at that colour. That is just crystal clear, looking really, really good. Okay, so let the levels drop a little bit. Probably okay to start sparging now actually. So turn the pump on, sit through, and the sparge over. Right, let's just slow that down a little bit. Go. Nice. Okay, so leave this to sparge for a bit while we run off. And we'll be back shortly in the boil kettle. According to Beersmith, we are looking for an estimated pre-boil of 1.043, so let's take a look. Okay, so here we are. We have an estimate. We have an actual pre-boil gravity of 1.045, so slightly above numbers. I've actually got slightly more sweet wort as well. I've actually got a couple litres more than I need, so I've got 30 litres, which is fine. So far we're up on all our numbers, which is really good. Yeah, and we have a awesome rolling boil here. So hot break's kicked in, set my timer for 90 minutes. In 30 minutes I'm going to stick in the 60-minute edition, which I've changed slightly on the recipe. Originally I had it down as Chinook for some weird reason, but I've always wanted to put a traditional German hop into bitter this particular lager, and then use American hops for aroma. So I've swapped that out for Tatnang, which means I'm able to increase the amount. I've put that down to 25 grams. Anyway, so that'll be in half an hour's time, when we will be sticking in the bittering additions. 60-minute additions, we have 30 grams of Tatnang. into the boil. So 60 minutes, and we will have flame out and start looking at the whirlpool hops. Although 45 minutes we'll be adding our protoflock. 15 minutes left in the boil. I'm going to stick in a protoflock tablet, and then another 5 minutes we've got the last hop additions, which I originally thought was whirlpool, but it's not. It's just a 10-minute hop addition. 20 grams of Chinook, 20 grams of Centennial. And I'm just going to go and get the chiller and get the wort chiller ready as well. See you shortly. Okay, last 10-minute hop additions. 20 grams of Chinook, 20 grams of Centennial. I could stir. I'm going to get the wort chiller ready. See you in 10 minutes. In. We are now at the 1.5 hour mark, so time for flame out. I'm going to go and get the screaming as the neighbours' kids. I'm going to go and get the pipes for the wort chiller, plug that all in and get that running, get this cooled down as quickly as possible. Alright, so here we are, final gravity reading. It's just running off in the chiller at the moment. And I estimated, following on from my pre-boil gravity, I estimated it would be 1.056, and look at that, 1.056, well, kind of like 1.055 and a half, 56, yeah, 56. Cool, so bang on the numbers, and looks like we've got about, don't know, we'll wait and see when we've got shrinkage how much finished wort we've got to put in the fermenter. So we are currently sitting at 25 degrees Celsius. So I'm very dubious about pitching this lager yeast, which is supposed to be fermented at 12 degrees. The recommended pitching temperature to start off with is 19 degrees according to the Y-Labs website, or Y-Yeast, I can't remember who it's from. And I really don't want to go pitching above that temperature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run off now into the fermenter. I'm going to stick that in the fermentation chamber until the temperature's dropped to about 19, which shouldn't take too long. Sometime this afternoon I should be able to get down to about 19, I would have thought, because I don't really want. I've been doing this now for half an hour, so it's not go that the temperature's coming out, the water's coming out of the taps at 19 degrees. So I was hoping it would drop down to about that, but it doesn't seem to want to drop below 25. Yeah, I'm going to stick it in the fermenter, leave it in the fermentation chamber for a few hours and see what the temperature drops down to, and then once we're down to 19 degrees, I'm then going to pitch the yeast. Whoa! Not happy with that. There's some gunk that came out the bottom there, isn't there? On closer inspection, it looks like a load of gunk just came through from the bottom of the boil kettle and went straight into the fermenter. Not happy with that, but not a lot I can do about it now. This is going to be there as true. Yeah, I think one thing I need to invest in is a filter to go on the end of here, because I don't really want that to happen. I've got the filter inside the boil kettle, but obviously it's not enough. Here we are, 23 litres bang on in the fermenter. There's my starter, or the yeast that's left of the starter, with all of the malt extract poured off, ready to go into the fermenter. Currently you can see there, set at 22 degrees. So what I will do is I have the thermostat set to 19, this is currently saying, if you can see that, 17.5, 17.6. So once this gets to 19, I will pitch and then leave it for 2 weeks. Okay, here we are in the fermentation chamber. It's been sat in here for about 5 hours now. As you can see, the temperature's gone down. It says here 16, but it's actually 18 degrees. So I've been monitoring the internal temperature of the wort. This says it's 21 degrees, that's the outside temperature. Anyway, you know, it's down to a much better temperature. Got my starter here. So I'm going to pitch this now. Put this to bed and leave it to brew. Here she is. Look at that. A lovely pint of lager. How many times can I say lager in this video? So yeah, look, you know, obviously you've just been through the brew day video. One thing I didn't show in the brew day video was the process that I did after fermentation. So once fermentation had finished, so my whole fermentation process with this one was I did a traditional kind of lager fermentation, kept it down, started off at 19 degrees for the first day, as recommended on the back of the yeast packet, dropped it down to 12-14 degrees for the duration of the fermentation, waited to a point where it had reached its target final gravity. Then did a diacetyl rest, so raised it back up to 19 degrees for a couple of days, and then started to reduce the temperature down to get into a lagering temperature of about 4 degrees, 6-4 degrees. So when I got to the point where I was ready to start lagering, transferred into a secondary fermentation vessel, and put into a fridge and kept it for 30 days at about 6-7 degrees. Depending on, you know, because it's been a really hot period in the UK, it was really hard to get the temperature to stay low. My fridge was really working overtime to try and get below kind of 7 degrees. So sometimes I come home and it's like 10 degrees just because the shed's so bloody hot. But you know, it was round about kind of, you know, a nice low temperature. So anyway, it's been sitting, lagering. I kegged this a week ago, let it sit. I've had it carbonating for the last 3 or 4 days, and I think I'm at a level where I'm happy with the carbonation. You know, it's nice. There are a stream of bubbles that are rising up from the bottom. I don't know if you can actually see it at the moment. Yeah, I can see it in the light. I don't know if you can see it here. It's not amazingly clear. It's, you know, for me, I don't know if you can see my finger here, but you know, for me, looking through the other side, it's pretty clear. I don't normally do clear beers, so for me, just to let this sitting chilled for a month, you know, that's pretty clear for me. I probably could gelatin fine this and probably get that to drop out absolutely crystal clear, but you know, it's that clarity that I'm actually really happy with. So, you know, for me, I'm really pleased with the way that it looks. It looks like a lager, you know. So let's give it one thing I did do, because it's I didn't want it to be a traditional Czech Pilsner, I wanted it to be kind of a hopped lager. So I did dry hop it with Equinox for the last week of lagering. So I let it lager for 3 weeks, and then on the last week I shoved in, I believe it was 100 grams of Equinox, and let that sit for a week before I kegged it. So it's had some dry hopping, and you can really notice that on the nose. There's a really fruity, passion fruity punch to it. It's really nice, almost kind of slight sweet aroma, like a fruit dessert or something like that. Yeah, it's very nice. Very subtle sweetness in the aroma. But yeah, definitely you can definitely smell that as an Equinox aroma in there. I've got a feeling it was 75 grams of Equinox actually, and I made the rest up with Amarillo, I think it was. So a bit of a mix. But anyway, it's certainly added to, you know, giving it a good aroma. So let's dive in and give it a taste. Yeah. So. Excuse me. It's lovely. Seriously, weather like this, something like this is perfect. It really is. There's something about the crispness of the flavour at the back of the throat that you get from something like a Pilsner. It's really perfect for this kind of hot weather. It's really nice, crisp, clean flavour. There's a very slight fruitiness to it, which I think is coming off the hops. I don't think there's any, because of any esters or anything like that. You know, I was very careful to try and make sure there was no diacetyl, you know, that everything was treated very gently while I was going from one process to the next. So nothing, you know, the yeast wasn't shocked, the beer wasn't shocked at any point. So I don't think there's any off flavours of any like esters are in there. I think that the fruitiness is coming from the hops themselves. Really nice. Yeah, I really like the flavour that the Czechoslovakian Pilsner yeast has given this. Really pleased with it's got a very lager kind of flavour to it. You know, that crisp, clean back of the throat that you get from a lager. It's kind of very satisfying. Sorry, sweating nose. There's a bloody fly in here as well. Get out of here. You might see it buzzing around. Hopefully it'll fly out the window in a minute. But yeah, you know, very pleased. It's the first lager I've ever done. Actually, given that I've got all the equipment now, you know, I've got a lager in the fridge. I don't think this is going to be the last time. I'll probably, you know, I may even try and go more traditional, into a really traditional kind of German Pilsner or something like that, and see how I go. You know, try and get something that's proper clear. I would probably like this to be a little bit more carbonated. You know, there is a very steady, slow stream of bubbles coming from the bottom of this glass, and this glass does have etchings in the bottom, so there should be a nice steady stream. I would prefer to see more carbonation, so I'd probably turn the carbonation up a little bit. I've got it set currently at 12 psi. I'm probably going to turn it up to nearer 20 for a little while and let this carbonate up a little bit more. But you know, it's got the satisfying hit at the back of the throat you get from a lager or a Pilsner. So yeah, I'm really pleased. I would definitely, you know, brew this kind of beer again. I think I will try it another time. And then maybe I'll make a video of that one too. Anyway, so happy homebrew guys, and enjoy the rest of this beautiful summer.